Alright guys, welcome to another episode. Now if you're new here, this is my daily driver, 2006 Acura TL. When I first obtained the vehicle, it had roughly 65,000 miles, and one of the very first things that I did was flushing out the automatic transmission fluid with Honda spec fluid from the dealership. Did it again at 100,000 miles, and now the vehicle has just 134, so it's time to replace it again. So a window of opportunity came open to me a few Sundays ago, but I could not get the Honda spec fluid, so the local parts store had this Valvoline, which meets the criteria for DW1, Honda DW-1, which is what this vehicle requires. So I drained the fluid, used the Valvoline, drove it up and down the block, came back, drained the fluid, and then put another fresh, roughly 3 quarts of Valvoline. And then my plan was, well, let me see how it drives and that sort of thing. And it just has not been shifting. It was way smoother before. So I went to the local independently owned parts store and I was able to get a different type of fluid, which I really think is going to work. So let's get this thing up in the air, drain it. I'll show you what I was able to get. If you're a Honda owner, this will probably save you some money. And then we'll take it for a test drive and let's see how we turn out. Okay, let's drain this bad boy and I'll show you what we're going to use. And you may be thinking, why replace the transmission fluid so often? Simply because since this vehicle is almost 20 years old right now, I want to keep this thing on the road as long as possible. Not only are cars really stupid expensive, but the complexity is just ridiculous. In fact, before I jump into that, sometimes these can be a little stubborn to remove. Just make yourself a longer handle. Makes all the difference in the world. There you go. In fact, just this morning, the Wall Street Journal had an article about a guy, big Volvo guy, had Volvos his entire life. Long story short, 2025. That's pretty dirty. 2025 XC90, and the vehicle accelerates on him and he can't stop it. So it turns out with these Volvos there was a 400,000 vehicle over-the-air update for something going on with the rear view camera. And on certain hybrids and EVs, this update did something to the braking system. And this guy had a hybrid. Long story short, he had to go off the road. Side airbag goes off, tires destroyed, vehicle damage. Again, just because these vehicles, newer vehicles, are more electronic. How would you say? They're more electronic means than mechanical means. You know, it's just modules everywhere, silicone wires, all this crap. So these older vehicles to me are golden. They're cheap to buy, cheap to maintain, cheap to insure, so that's why I like it. So that being said, very quickly, this fluid was dirtier than, I just did this a month ago, and it's not anything against Valvoline. In fact, I just used Valvoline to replace the transmission fluid on the CTSV when I did the clutch on that vehicle. And on the CTSV, there's a little gauge, there's a little menu on the gauge cluster that reads the temperature sensor, and it's always cool. It's been 95 degrees the last couple of days. It's always running cool. It shifts fine. I just think they don't have the proprietary mix that Honda has for these transmissions. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add the rest of this Valvoline fluid just to flush out the system. Let me show you where the drain plug is, just to flush out the system. And then I'll share with you what I bought and I think what's going to work, and we'll take it on a test drive. But right here, hold on, a little hard to see, but that fastener right down there. But right here, I'll highlight it for you guys. If you have one of these vehicles and you really want to know how to do it, if you have a V6 Honda Accord, I did one years ago on my brother's TL. I'll link it now. Super easy to do. So let's remove that. I think that's a 19 mil if I remember correctly. Alrighty, here we go. Yep, 17. Okay. Now what's the difference between just a simple drain and fill versus a flush? A flush, typically you bring your vehicle to a shop, and what they do is they drain the fluid, the trans fluid, and with the machine, they run detergents through the transmission to clean it out, then they add fluid in. So this is the plan. This fluid was purchased at the local independently owned parts store. In other words, not Advance Auto, AutoZone, franchise, nothing. The local parts store that's owned by a guy or maybe a group of investors. This is really cool because Aisin, if you're not familiar with Aisin, ultimately they make many, many parts. They ship it to the manufacturer, and then the manufacturer assembles everything. So for example, if you're replacing a water pump on your Toyota or a Honda, Aisin a lot of times makes the part, and then Toyota, Honda, they just assemble everything at the factory. But what's really cool, OEM engineered formula, specifically engineered for Honda and Acura vehicles requiring DW-1. So the whole thing about this is it just makes life a lot easier. It's at the local parts store. I don't have to go to the dealer. I think I'll look it up. I'll post it when you guys see this. Maybe $6 a quart, so it's really not too bad. Let's put this in. If I still have trouble, then I'll flush everything out 3 times, but I think this is going to work. Okay, so typically I would feel a little bit of a change in the shifting going uphill under acceleration. So let's see what's what. That's good. That feels good. Certainly feels a lot better. Let me bring you in for a close-up just to show you how everything is shifting gears here. So let's start at a standstill here. Okay, nice and smooth. I know the steering wheel was blocking your view there. Just hold on. Yeah, it certainly feels, you know, it's amazing. Just changing the fluid. What a difference that makes. Yeah, it feels really good. So there you have it. It's absolutely amazing how 2 different companies with the same specifications, and they just feel way, way different. Now the Honda stuff, I don't know if Aisin makes the fluid. I have no idea. And then Honda just puts their label on it, but this feels really, really good. So if you're a Honda or an Acura owner with an automatic, not a CVT, not a manual, but an automatic transmission, and you need to change the fluid, keep that in the back of your mind. Aisin, if you can find it, it's a little bit cheaper, and it feels like the genuine stuff. As always, thank you for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.